Okay, so it is Thursday, March 30th, and we are going to continue with box plots. So go ahead and make sure you have out all of your supplies, your pencil, your homework, your stamp sheet, your math folder, and your math notebook. Once you have all those out, go ahead and start on Thursday's warm-up. I want you to pause the video for a second and restart when you have your warm-up completed. Okay, so you restarted. I'm going to assume that means that you are done with your warm-up. So I'm going to go ahead and start going over how you would do this warm-up. So it's talking about percents. So this is going to be a percent box problem. For this problem, our whole is going to be the regular price because when things are on sale, you're only paying a part of the regular price. So the discount in this case would be the part, and that's supposed to be part. That was actually supposed to say D for discount. Okay, so this is P for part. Okay, 20%, excuse me, 20%, and then the discount is $3. If we cover up our diagonal numbers, we know we need to start our relationship with 20. And I see a relationship right there because 20 times 5 is 100. 3 times 5 is 15. So that means the regular price of the mirror would be $15. Okay, go ahead and put your warm-up back in your folder. And I want you to very quietly pause the video and go put your folder away. And then when you get back to your desk, restart the video. Okay, so since you restarted the video, I'm going to assume that you are ready to go over homework. And we're actually going to quickly go over Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's homework. So make sure you're really paying attention. For this first one, we can use the box for this. We're comparing feet to inches, and our chart, or right here, tells us that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And then they gave us 96 inches. When I cover up my diagonal, I see that I have to start with 12. So 12 divided by 12 is 1. So I can divide 96 by 12. 12 goes into 96 8 times. So that would be 8 feet. I'm going to go down to this one about 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. That's 7 multiplied 6 times. So that's going to be 7 to the 6th power. For this dividing mixed numbers, we've got to start by doing math. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 gives me 16. My denominator stays the same. I'm going to also do math over here. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. My denominator stays the same. Once I have done that, I can do keep, change, flip. So this is going to stay the same. This is going to change to multiplication, and this is going to flip to 3 over 8. 16 times 3 is 48, and 3 times 8 is 24. 48 divided by 24, you could simplify it, or you could just go ahead and divide, but it's going to come out to positive 2. Last one on Monday's homework is a stem and leaf plot. It says, according to the stem and leaf plot, how many parking lots had at least 30 cars, but fewer than 50 cars? Okay, so they actually all had fewer than 50 cars because our biggest number on this graph is 49. So really, we're gonna start at 30. At least 30 means 30 or more. So if we look right here, everything going that way is less than 30. So we're talking about all of these. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the answer here is that 11 of the parking lots had at least 30, but fewer than 50. Okay, so that was Monday's homework. Now let's look at, I believe this is Tuesday's homework, hopefully. Okay, so This first one says 8x is less than -8. So first we need to solve. Let's see, there we go. First we need to solve this. We need to divide both sides by 8. And then that's going to give us x is less than -1. No line, no mouth guard. So we're going to get rid of B and D because they have the wrong kind of circle. And then remember, this is kind of like a little arrow and it's pointing to the left. So we would not want this one because it's pointing to the right. So that's answer choice C. Quick way to do this is I know 4/10 is 0.4, or if we thought of it as money, that's 40 cents. And 4/8 is 1/2 or 0.5. That's going to be 50 cents. So 50 cents is more than 40 cents. Down below, it's a little bit trickier. This one's easy because 2/5 is 0.4 or 0.40. I'm just going to do a little quick math on a little typo on 3/7 just to get it close, like in money. Doesn't go in, goes in 3 times. So I could keep going, but I already know this is going to be about -30 something cents. I'll just keep going just to make it look like money. So, oh. Okay, math teachers make mistakes too. Just kidding. That goes in 4 times because that's 28. Okay, so that's going to give us 2, and that goes in 2 times. So this is about -42 cents. Okay, so if these were positive, we would say 3/7 is greater than 2/5. But remember, these are negatives, so it's opposite land. So this is actually a bigger number, even though it looks smaller. Over here, we're going to evaluate. We got to do our grouping symbols first. 6 minus 3 is 3. Everything else stays the same. Then we do 3 to the 3rd power. That's 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Then we have to multiply next. And then we add and subtract from left to right. So 27 minus 3 is 24. 24 plus 20 is going to give me 44. Okay, last one. In order to find median and IQR, I've got to first put these in order. So it's going to be 1, and then there's 3 and 3. I noticed on our assignment yesterday, some of y'all were missing numbers. I almost did it just now. But notice that I'm crossing off as I go. It helps me see that I'm not missing any numbers. So I would recommend doing that. Okay, so I got all the numbers. For my median, I'm going to kind of sort of cross off without crossing off until I get to the middle. Okay, notice I have 2 left in the middle. So that one's going to be 6.5 in the middle of 6 and 7. Now I need to find IQR. So I'm going to go ahead and bracket my upper half and my lower half. So this is Q1, this is Q3, and 10 minus 3 is 7. So your IQR here is 7. Okay, that was Tuesday night's homework. I know I'm going quick, but we gotta get through all this. And let's do Wednesday's homework. So we start with area of a parallelogram. That's base times height. Our base here is 7. Our height is 6.2. So 6.2 times 7, that's going to give me 14. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 1 is 43, and we have 1 place, decimal place, so we need 1 decimal place. So that's going to come out to 43.4, and it's going to be square meters. Let's look about Miguel. Miguel spent $45 on candy bars. Each candy bar cost $1.50. How many did he buy? So that means we're taking the total that he spent and we're dividing it. And I don't need that 0 on the end, so I'm just going to leave that off because it's going to make my problem easier. I do have to do slide, raise the roof, and add in a 0 there. 15 can't go into 4, but it goes into 45 3 times. 15 times 3 is 45. We subtract, we bring down. Okay, so he bought 30 candy bars. If you got the answer 3, that tells me you didn't do slide, raise the roof. And honestly, $1.50 times 3 is going to be $4.50, not $45. Okay, this one over here, this is a box problem. We're talking about red paint to white paint, and they gave us the ratio of 4:1. Those are the two numbers together in the problem. And then 12 cups of red, starting with our, crossing off our diagonals, that tells us we need to start with 4. And 4 times 3 is 12. So 1 times 3 is going to give us 3 cups of white paint. Okay, so in order to know peak and outlier, easiest thing to do first is to get them in order. So 2 and 2, and then 8, and then there's 3 9s. There's a 12, a 19, a 21, a 27, and a 99. Okay, so you could make a dot plot out of this, but I think we can use some common sense. Remember that an outlier is one that's much larger or much smaller than all the rest. So we can see here that 99 kind of came out of nowhere. Where did that come out from? That's way off. So that's going to be our outlier. Your peak is the same as your mode. So if we were to make a dot plot of these numbers, the one that's going to have the most dots is going to be 9 because there's 3 of them. So our peak is at 9. Okay, that's it for homework. So I want you to go ahead and put your homework away. And I want you to turn to page 62 in your notebook. That is the notes that we glued in yesterday. If you were not here yesterday, you need to make sure you get those from me or Miss Abu, because you're going to need that. So we did the notes on the right-hand side already, but I told you we would come back to these practice problems, and here we are coming back to them. So this is really important because this is kind of the sort of questions you'll see today on your assignment, or that you could see on STAR. So the first one says the box plot summarizes the attendance for the spring band concert and the fall band concert. This is called a double box plot because we have 2. Each band concert was performed for 6 evenings. Which statement best describes the data represented by the box plots? Okay, so first says the range in attendance for the fall. Oh, how did I get gray? I don't like gray, I like purple. The range in attendance for the fall band concert, and so we're talking about fall, is 85. Okay, so range is high minus low, and we're talking about fall. So here's my high, here's my low for the fall. If we take that down, that's in between 220 and 230. So that's going to be 225. And then over here, this is just at 130. Okay, so let's check that out. 225 minus 130. I have to borrow. So that actually comes out to 95, not 85. So that's not going to be correct. Okay, so B says the interquartile range, or the IQR, for the spring band concert is 45. So remember, IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So we're looking at spring. This is Q3. And again, if we come down here, it's between 190 and 200. So that's going to be 195. And then this is Q1. And if we come down here, it's between 130 and 140. So that's 135. 195 minus 135 is 60. So that's not right. Okay, I'm going to skip C. I'm going to come back to that because I want to talk more about that in a minute. But let's look at this next one because this also says range, but this is the range for the spring band concert. So again, range is our highest, which here is 200, minus our lowest, which here is 120. Okay, 200 minus 120 is 80, not 20. Okay, so that leads us to believe that our answer is C, but let's talk about why. If you remember on our notes, we said that each quartile was 25%. Okay, so I'm going to draw up here. You don't have to draw this in your notes, but if you want to, you are more than welcome. So I told you that the data is divided into 4 quartiles, but we didn't get to talk a lot about what those actually are. So I'm going to try to show you the best I can on here, but basically right here from there to there, that's a quartile. So we said each quartile was 25%. So from this dot to this line right here is 25%. This right here, that's another quartile. So from Q1 to the median, that's another 25%. Okay, this is another quartile. So from the median to Q3, another 25%. And then this, the other whisker, is the last quartile. So from Q3 over here to our maximum is another 25%. So when it says for half the evenings at the spring band concert, the attendance was less than 160 people. Okay, so we're talking about spring. So if I find 160, 160 is right here at the median. And if I go less than 160, that's everything over here. So remember, this right here is 25%, and this over here is 25%. 25 plus 25 is 50%, and 50% is half. Okay, so that is true. Because it's two quartiles, it is 50%, and so that is our answer. Somehow that got erased. Okay, so that is the answer for the first one. Now let's look at this second one. The students recorded the amount of water and fluid ounces each of them drank in one day. The box plot shows the summary of the results. Okay, so which statement best describes the data represented in the box plot? I'm going to start down at the bottom. It says the mean number of fluid ounces that the students drank is 78. If you remember what we learned yesterday, we talked about median, we talked about IQR, range, maximum, minimum, Q1, Q3. We didn't talk anything about mean. The reason is you cannot find mean from a box plot. Okay, so can't find. The reason is we don't know all the individual values. All we know is the 5-number summary, min, max, median, Q1, Q3. We don't know the mean, so we can't say whether or not that's true. Okay, the next one up says the data represents 78 student responses. Okay, we also can't know that. We don't know. Again, we don't have all of the data values. So we only, again, we know how far apart they're spread. We know what the smallest one is. We know what the biggest one is. We know what the middle one is, that kind of stuff. We don't know how many people answered this survey. Okay. The next one says the greatest number of students drank from 30 to 78 fluid ounces. Okay, so let's look where that would be. 30 is right here, and 78 is right there. Okay, so that's half of that graph. So let's come back to that, because we don't, that's kind of confusing, but let's see what the first one says. The first one says half the students drank from 78 to 114. Okay, so again, 78's right here. This would be 114. And again, that is half, because this is 25%. This over here is 25%. 25% plus 25% equals 50%. And 50% is half. Okay, so the reason it's not B is because this over here was also half, right? So that's not the greatest number of students. That's half of them. So A was our answer on this one. Okay, so now let's talk about your assignment for today. So let's see. I'm going to share my desktop with you so we can actually look at it. And let's see, it is right here. Okay, so it's a Jamboard. The first part is the 5-number summary. So remember, we learned about this part yesterday. This should be super easy for you. Minimum, maximum, Q1, Q3, the median. IQR, you should be able to find easily because you're just doing Q3 minus Q1. This one about the percent of the data, that has to do with the quartiles. So remember that each quartile is 25%. So you have to figure out how many quartiles it's talking about. So it's either going to be 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%. This first slide should be very easy for you. Okay, number 2 has a double box plot like we had on the review or on the guided practice. You're just finding the IQR for January. You're finding the IQR for June. So that's Q3 minus Q1 on those. Then you're finding the range for January and the range for June. And so that's going to be your highest number minus your lowest number. Also should be pretty easy. This one is very similar to the problem you had on Mockstar. So they have given you some numbers. They want to know which one is the right box plot. So if you understood yesterday's assignment, you're going to have to figure out from these numbers, okay, what's the minimum, what's the maximum, what's the median, what's Q1, what's Q3, and see which box plot matches that. And then the last question is talking about quartiles again. So 3/4 would be 75%. Here we have 25%, 1/4 would be 25%, and 50%. So you have to read through and talk about, look at these intervals and see, okay, well, how many quartiles is that? If it's 1 quartile, that would be 25%. If it's 2 quartiles, that's 50%. If it's 3 quartiles, that's 75%. Okay, so hopefully you understand what you are doing. So for the rest of class, you should be completing this Jamboard. When you are done, you can turn it in and you can work on missing work or you can work on get more math. Okay, hope that helps. We are done.